You ever start a simple project around the house, and before you know it, you're caught in this web of rules you had no idea were even a thing? Well, that is exactly what happened to a homeowner out in Sun City, Arizona. His plan? Just build a little storage shed. The result? A full-blown legal hearing. So yeah, let's dive into this wild case where what feels fair slams right into what the rules actually say.
Right at the heart of it all is this bombshell accusation from the homeowner, Dennis Anderson. He's claiming his HOA used a non-existent rule against him. I mean, that phrase alone just grabs you, right? It sets up this classic neighborhood showdown and makes you wonder how a community's rules are even supposed to work.
All right, so let's get into it. This is the story of Dennis Anderson, a guy living in the Tara Condominiums community. He needed a bit more storage space, looked around, saw other people had sheds, and figured, hey, I'll build one too. Seemed totally straightforward, but oh boy, it got complicated, and it got complicated fast.
Okay, look at how this all went down. On January 3rd, he builds the shed. Done deal. But it takes nearly a whole month before he gets a violation letter, and it's only after that letter that he submits the paperwork to get it approved. The HOA then denies it just a few days later. The big takeaway here? The shed was already standing long before he ever asked for permission.
Now, Mr. Anderson's whole argument was pretty simple. He was convinced the HOA shot him down because his shed was taller than his patio wall, a rule he searched for and couldn't find written down anywhere. To back this up, he pointed out 4 other sheds in the neighborhood that were also taller than the walls. So in his mind, it was clear. They were singling him out.
So, feeling like this was totally unfair, Mr. Anderson did what you do when you feel wronged. He filed a formal petition. And that led to an administrative hearing on August 4th, 2022. This is where it gets serious. Both sides are in front of a judge, ready to lay out their case. And the main event? You guessed it, that non-existent rule.
And here you can really see the two sides are just living in different realities. Anderson's laser-focused on what he sees as an unfair, made-up rule. But the HOA? They're coming at this from a totally different angle. They're saying, look, first, he broke the rules by building without approval, and second, this height thing is a known standard. Everybody just knows it. So the hearing kicks off. Mr. Anderson is there representing himself, and it's on him to prove the HOA messed up. To do that, he came armed with some evidence he thought would prove his point. Let's see what he brought to the table.
So he starts presenting these photos. First, one of his own shed. Then pictures of other things around the community. A sunshade, a bunch of other sheds, all of them clearly taller than the patio walls. His message was loud and clear. If all of these are okay, why isn't mine? He's trying to show there's already a precedent. But then we get to a huge moment in the hearing. While he's being questioned, Mr. Anderson makes a critical admission. He says on the record that, yeah, he built the shed before getting it approved. He just wasn't aware he had to. Now, that seems like a small comment, but trust me, it's about to become the most important sentence in this entire case. Just when you think this is a simple case of he didn't file the paperwork, the judge suddenly turns her attention to the HOA board, and her questions completely shift the energy in the room. She starts digging into their reason for denying him, that unwritten standard. And that was the first zinger. Judge Vanella goes right at the HOA's logic. I mean, it's a great question, right? If a rule isn't written down anywhere, how can you expect people to know about it? And more importantly, how can you punish them for breaking it? You can almost hear the air go out of the HOA's argument. And she didn't let up. She doubles down, saying anybody can make up rules, and pointing out that, for a rule to be legit, it usually needs to be in writing. At this point, if you're watching this, you're probably thinking, okay, the judge is totally on the homeowner's side. This is a slam dunk for him. The HOA's case seems to be falling apart at the seams.
So with the judge just grilling the HOA about their unwritten rule, you'd bet the house that the homeowner was about to get a big win, right? I mean, it seemed like a foregone conclusion. But when the official ruling came out a few days later, it had a twist that nobody saw coming.
Yeah, the decision, handed down on August 10th, had nothing to do with whether the height rule was fair or not. Not at all. Instead, it all came down to a very strict and honestly a very simple point of procedure. The entire case was decided by one single fact. And there it is. That's the killer line from the judge's decision. The judge found that the homeowner built the shed before he even tried to get approval. It all goes back to that one little admission Mr. Anderson made on the stand.
So to really get why this was the nail in the coffin, you have to understand a legal idea called the burden of proof.
Basically, since Mr. Anderson was the one suing, the responsibility was on him to prove the HOA broke the rules. The HOA didn't have to prove they were right. He had to prove they were wrong.
And that's where his whole case just collapsed. He couldn't prove the HOA violated the rules when they rejected him because he had already violated those exact same rules by building the shed in the first place. Think about it. His mistake came first. The judge couldn't even get to the question of whether the HOA's decision was fair because procedurally he was already in the wrong.
So when you really break it down, the judge's logic is pretty airtight. 1. The lawsuit was about Section 11. 2. Section 11 clearly says get approval before you build. 3. The evidence, including his own words, proved he built it first. So 4. He couldn't claim the HOA violated a rule that he himself had already broken. Case dismissed. It's as simple as that.
This whole story just leaves you with this one big question, doesn't it? Mr. Anderson might have had a really strong point about fairness, about other sheds being allowed, but at the end of the day, a simple procedural mistake cost him everything. It really makes you wonder, in these kinds of community disputes, what actually matters more? What seems fair or what's written down in the rulebook?